All right, we are talking golf once again with Jeff Shain. It's been a few years, but Jeff is back. He really didn't go anywhere. At least he would tell you that.
I didn't?
Yeah, well, on the network he did. But business-wise, he actually went in a completely different direction, but in a positive direction. So, Jeff, how's everything going? Business is looking up.
Business is looking up, and I am a senior sports writer now with the Village's Daily Sun, north of Orlando. If you're of a certain age, you certainly remember the commercial, "The
Oh,
Villages."
I live there, so yeah.
But we
I
are
think
the
I lived
fastest
next
growing.
to the villages. They were all over the place where I was in South Florida.
Yeah, well, like I say, we're northeast of Orlando, northwest of Orlando, I should say, and we are the nation's fastest growing community. We have 130,000 residents,
Big shot.
most of who love golf. We have the largest golf community in the world. We have 711 holes of golf.
That's
The
it.
Village's courses booked 3.4 million tee times in 2021,
Impressive.
and we're expanding. Within 15 years, give or take, we will double in size and double in population. And not only are we the fastest growing community, we're also the nation's fastest growing newspaper. And actually, you can do a lot of things with numbers, but as far as daily newspapers in the state of Florida, we are the largest. The Tampa Bay Times has a larger circulation, but they only print twice a week. We print 7 days, and our paper's thicker too.
Awesome. And of course, you're in charge of. Now, you in charge of. Well, tell me how much of what you cover sports wise in the paper is golf related.
It's still mostly golf, but we have allowed me to branch out. They have allowed me to branch out. Um, we have with the Olympics in town, or not in town, but the Olympics going on, I've got Olympic experience, and so that was easy for me to write some features about. We have a number of villagers that have grandkids that are competing in the Olympics, or we had one whose son was engaged to one of the members of the U.S. Solheim Cup team. We have parents of PGA Tour players here. Stuart Sink's mother and I seem to talk about every other month. Usually when Stuart's doing better. I'm the Sunday columnist. As I've kind of hinted to you, we're doing a 12-month project on sports and the how Florida shapes the sports landscape in terms of excellence and crowning champions. And we did a big package on football in January. We did a package on auto racing about 2 weeks ago. And come the end of this month, I'll have a big package on how golf and Florida are so intertwined, and the culture of golf, and everybody that comes here to practice and play in terms of the pros, all the tournaments we put on. So I am deeply, deeply involved in this project.
Yeah, I'm actually at this point in time. Let's see. I am going to show everybody what it looks like on your website.
Okay.
So basically, what you do is, and again, I just went to the Village's Daily Sun homepage. I went to news. I dropped down to sports. I clicked sports, and boom, the first one up is the Churning Out Champions on Florida's Racetracks by Cody Hills.
Yeah.
And then
Another senior writer, my colleague.
Okay, and he was at Daytona. Was that part of his?
He spent all of Speed Weeks at Daytona, and what he also, it wasn't just Daytona. He went to a number of the smaller tracks in the state and talked to people again about the culture of auto racing in the state of Florida. And obviously Daytona is the world center of racing, but you think we've got the IndyCar race in St. Petersburg. Miami has now added a Formula One race. We got all of the endurance races that go on in Sebring. And he didn't get to all of those because we had to juggle the schedule a little bit. But even like go-kart racing. We have this tiny little quarter-mile go-kart track not far from our offices, but they run 2 Saturdays a month and with kids as young as 6. Very interesting.
So what's coming out next? What are you working on?
Well, as I said, this project, the sport that we'll feature in the month of March is golf. And so, in addition to live coverage of the Arnold Palmer Invitational and the Players Championship this week, I've been talking on the side to a lot of players, making calls to tournament directors, course owners, the National Golf Foundation, trying to be able to tell the story of the culture of golf in Florida, how we produce winners here, all of the tournaments that play in the state of Florida. We got 15 professional tournaments, not to mention all of the U.S. Open qualifying and things like that. And, just think of not only Jupiter, which is now the hot spot for everybody to move in golf, but we have pros in Jupiter. We still have pros in Orlando. Bradenton has become a big place for pros to move to. Ponte Vedra Beach has also been a growing community. And so I've talked to all of them. And somehow when the Players' Championship is said and done, I'll sit down and figure out how I'm going to write 3,000 words on this.
Good luck. Better you than me. Yeah.
And I'll have to cut, I'm sure.
Yeah, I would think so. Sure. Well, let's get to it because this is what we used to do on a weekly basis: is preview the PGA Tour events. We did it for years. We haven't done it for a couple of years, so
I'm out of practice.
Absolutely, and I am too. So I just started to do a little bit over the last couple of weeks since Jan Stephenson, of course, who is our main attraction here on our golf coverage, and she is going to be with me tomorrow live from the Players. It's either going to be tomorrow or Thursday. So because there was a possibility that tomorrow was going to be a scratch with the Hall of Fame going on, and that's including Tiger Woods. So I can imagine what kind of craziness is going to be on tomorrow. I believe she said it starts at 5:00, if I'm not mistaken.
I think the actual ceremony, at least being broadcast by Golf Channel, begins at 6:00.
Okay.
But maybe she has to be in place by 5.
Probably, yes. And so it's great that she gets in the first year last year that she's in, and the very first year that she's in, it's Tiger. And I think she told me that the people who are enshrined the prior year are responsible for taking out the new Hall of Fame class. So
that's interesting.
Yeah, so Jan's part of that. Even though Jan's has some choice words, you know how she can at times have choice words about just about anything that pops up in her head. But she's often been critical about Tiger, and she was critical about Tiger on one of our shows the last couple of weeks. So she tells it like it is, which is why we love to have her on. And she was defending Phil a couple of weeks ago. But none of that stuff going on this week, thank goodness. I'm glad that we don't have to talk about Phil Mickelson and
you didn't hear Jay Monahan's press conference, did you?
No.
Some very veiled comments in terms of we're not thinking about leverage. We're thinking about legacy, and I think he chose the word leverage very specifically because Phil used it in his comments.
Yeah, see, this is the kind of stuff we just don't want to get into. But I deserve it. I started it. All right, so let's talk golf because the Players is one of the top events on tour. It's also one of the fan favorites. Even if you're not there, it's a fan favorite because aesthetically it's so accommodating for the viewer on television. You don't get that a lot on the PGA Tour. You get it, I'd say maybe 20% of the time, 15% of the time, and the Players is at the top, especially because unlike the majors, it's at the same location every year. So
I would say that that Sawgrass would rank second behind Augusta in terms of viewers can look at a TV screen and say, that's hole number 16 or that's hole number 9. And and obviously everybody recognizes 17 and most of them recognize 18.
Okay, so the favorite of the event, it started as a three-man favorite when the odds came out. It was Morikawa, Rahm, and JT at 14-1. Thomas is the defending champ. Who do you think is the favorite now?
I would say Morikawa. Even though that he only had his debut last year at the Players, he's just the consistent ball striker, and you can do all sorts of things with numbers now that they've got strokes gained slash anything on the PGA Tour. But what it comes down to is he right now is the best ball striker on tour. He leads the tour in adjusted scoring. He came off a runner-up finish at Riviera, and he comes in rested. He doesn't come in beat up off these last two events in Florida where Bay Hill was absolutely brutal on Saturday and Sunday, and Honda wasn't much easier. And so he's the guy that is fresh, as opposed to and Justin Thomas is fresh too. But we all know that repeating, particularly at the Players Championship, is a really tall order. So I would say Morikawa at this point. Yeah.
That's
really,
how tall an order it is.
Tall order.
Yeah, it's 0-4. Even though that's, by the way, Rahm is the favorite. Morikawa and Thomas have stayed where they're at 16 to.
Okay.
Actually, have dropped to 16 a little bit from 14 to 16. Rahm moved up a little bit to 12-1. But Rahm's, still the top ranked player in the world. He's still a little bit more name recognition overall than Morikawa. And overall, I think the one thing, as far as I'm concerned, I don't know what the gambling public is thinking, but for me, as we go over the trends, we've talked a lot about this over the years with the players at TPC Sawgrass, and that is the fact of how difficult it is to handicap, because it is hard to find a consistent a player that has been consistently solid here. It just doesn't happen.
Right.
And so much so that only 7 players in the field have 4 top 10s or more at TPC Sawgrass. That is low.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And the reason I didn't name Jon Rahm was it was only a couple of years ago, 2019, I think it was, that he was fighting a possible meltdown at TPC Sawgrass, and he was really struggling with it. And obviously, he's a much better player. He has done a lot in the last 3 years to be able to keep his emotions at least bubbling at a little bit lower temperature. But when I think of Jon Rahm and the Players, I still have that scene in my mind of where he is really fighting himself to not have a meltdown. And so that is interesting that takes place. And it seems like, whenever we found somebody that had 2 or 3 good years at TPC Sawgrass, we'd jump on him, and he missed the cut.
Yeah, pretty much. It can be. A matter of fact, there's very few players that have never missed a cut, but Justin Thomas and Jon Rahm are 2 of them, and Morikawa. Morikawa's only played once.
Right.
Rahm has played 4 times, and by the way, since the meltdown a few years ago, Rahm 12th in 2019, and then 9th in last year. So he has played his best golf the last couple of years, and he's now playing in his 5th Players, which is the magic number, near the magic number, because I'm going to pop on the screen all of the trends that I have here, and you can see here that one of the biggest trends that I'm going to highlight is, well, it's a key trend. It's right here, and that is that the last 15 first-time winners made an average of 6.8 appearances before winning, and 9 of the last 10 first-time winners made at least 6 appearances before winning. So again, 6.8 appearances is the average over the last 15, and a minimum of 6 appearances in the 9 of the last 10. The only player that really screwed everything up with the trends was Siwoo Kim a couple of years ago.
Sure.
When he won on his second try, and he was ranked 73rd. I mean, these are all things that just doesn't. Usually, you have to be ranked high, have all these other things going for you, pretty much. But not that 7, 8, 10 years ago things weren't crazy, but because they were. There was a lot crazier of a time where players from all over were winning. But even though players are still, Yes, the Craig Perks of the world. The last player to make this event is Maiden PGA Tour win, by the way. That one is right down here at the bottom of my trends. So if you're looking for players that have never won a pro event, then forget it, because that's who you'll be, is Craig Perks. So join Craig Perks, and you could also join Hal Sutton as the only two players that ever won in their first appearance at TPC Sawgrass, dating back to the first event played there back in 1982. So that's what you got working against you there. But the other thing that is important, and we've talked about this before as well, and that is that to win at TPC Sawgrass, you have to have a tee to green game.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, that's what this is one of the rare weeks that I'm going to look at those types of stats. And if I see anybody like outside the top 50, say top 60 in tee to green, I'm just crossing them off my list, because it's going to be very hard for that player to win this week.
And going back to Rahm, he does lead the PGA Tour in strokes gained off the tee, however they calculate that.
Yep.
Leads the tee in strokes gained tee to green, and he leads the PGA Tour in greens and regulation. So there's a lot going here for him as well. Again, because he played last week, I do wonder how any of these players, and Rahm was not one of those guys at Bay Hill that was walking off muttering under his breath.
Sure.
But I think Bay Hill took a lot out of people, and so to go from what we saw Saturday and Sunday, and now we're coming to Sawgrass. The weather is going to be an issue. It's going to rain Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and by the time the sun comes out on Sunday, the high is forecast for 55 degrees. So it's going to be, a
thunderstorms, slog. Or is it going to be like rain?
Thunderstorms on Thursday. What my app says is thunderstorms on Thursday, believe it or not, and just rain on Friday, Saturday. And then again, we'll get sunshine on Sunday, but the temperature's not going to hit 60 degrees. So, and the wind will be up on Sunday. So that could be a really, really interesting Sunday at Sawgrass.
So we really should be looking for players. And here's another tidbit, and that is the fact that 9 of the last 15 winners were international players. That maybe that's a way that we look again, because those players know and are usually very competitive in all sorts of conditions. And if the conditions are going to be as bad as you say they are, then keep an eye on some of those guys. Because one of the picks I have this week, actually, out of my 7, is Shain Lowry, and he might fit that kind of.
Yes, and
bring the weather.
Yeah, and he almost won at the Honda Classic 2 weeks ago. Oddly enough, it was a pop-up shower at the absolutely wrong time that made playing 18 tough for him, because it soaked the green. His approach didn't get as close as he wanted, and all of a sudden Sepp Straka is your Honda Classic winner. But Shain Lowry, with his runner-up finish at Honda, would seem to be a really good pick.
Okay, and then you've got, between the next group, Cantlay at 20-1, Hovland at 22-1, and McIlroy at 22-1. Obviously, McIlroy has the most experience, and he won in 2019. And he's also hot with 9 straight top 20s. Cantlay has never had a top 20 we just talked about this, at TPC Sawgrass, but that's okay, because he could end up winning this week, and that'll be his first. He's also got back-to-back missed cuts coming in here on this golf course. And Hovland has only played once, but he's never played the weekend because he missed the cut last year. Hovland is now ranked 3rd in the world after 6 top 5s in his last 8, a runner-up, and 3 wins, and almost made it 4 last week.
Yeah. And
who would you take in that group?
I would say out of that group, I would probably take Hovland, although he was one of the guys, and I had an opportunity to catch him after his round, and he had that glazed, frustrated look in his eyes. So this is going to be the question of how quickly can he put it behind him, and certainly with the 6 top 10s in his last 8, 3 wins, almost a 4th. he really is the hottest golfer on the planet. But sometimes when you come off a really tough course, it was tough physically and it was even tougher mentally. The question is, how quickly can you recover? Now he's young enough and playing well enough that he probably it will be the best of that opportunity. Rory really had a lot of very critical things to say after a 76-76 weekend at Bay Hill. He came into Bay Hill on a run of 5 consecutive top tens, but that 76-76 weekend dropped him all the way from, well, he was the first round leader. He was tied for second on Friday, and he finished 13th. And he basically said, I'll quote him. He said, honestly, I'm kind of punch drunk right now. So, and let's also remember that although Rory won in 2019, last year he missed the cut. And he didn't just miss the cut. He missed the cut by 10 shots.
Yeah.
So he has this love-hate with Florida here.
Yes. Now, Scheffler is 28-1. And winning 2 straight is never an easy thing to do. But he has won 2 of his last 3 events. But I wanted to talk to him because of the fact that he won last week, breaking trends. He was 21st after round 1, which was the farthest back anyone has won at Bay Hill since Tiger in 2008. He was 20th after round 2. Same thing. Farthest back for a winner since Tiger in 2008. Only the second player in the last 25 years to begin the final round outside the top 3. Keeping in mind when he won at Phoenix, 44th after round 1. And if it wasn't for the fact that everybody just gave it away late, including Thagala, who choked, it wouldn't have been there for Scheffler to take advantage. So, however way you got to break your maiden, Scheffler did it at Phoenix. He hangs in there tough over the weekend after a great Saturday to win this one. Almost like a U.S. Open type of win.
Right.
So, we haven't yet seen him with the lead, holding the lead overnight and winning event. But it still takes a certain type of character and a performer to be as consistent as he's been over the last couple of years and to finally break through and not only win a couple of events, but a win on a tough golf course like Bay Hill on Sunday.
Yeah, and he is, now that you mentioned, he really has become a very strong weekend player. And for the longest time, in my circles, on the podcast that we host at the Daily Sun, we've talked about Scottie Scheffler had done everything except visit the winner's circle, and what was it going to take to do that? And I think what we've seen is that when you make that cut and the conditions, the setups get a little bit tougher because you've kind of gotten rid of all the riffraff, Scheffler comes through and he plays really strongly on the weekend. In Phoenix, his weekend was 62 to put him in contention and then 67 to get him into that playoff. At Bay Hill, it was a 68 on Saturday, which doesn't sound like much, except the scoring average was almost 74 and a half,
Yeah.
and he was one of only 2 rounds in the 60s that day.
Uh-huh.
And then 72 without a bogey in his last 10 holes on Sunday. So he has some definite weekend moxie. So if he's within arm's length of the lead after Friday, I think you really have to look at will he be able to do something significant on Saturday to get himself in contention? And then, as you said, in both Phoenix and at Bay Hill, he doesn't make the mistakes and doesn't suffer the pitfalls that everybody else has been going through. You mentioned Thigala in Phoenix, and let's keep in mind, he was playing on a sponsor exemption, so
Sure.
first time in that situation. Yep. But the collection of players that we had, Gary Woodland, a U.S. Open champion, Rory McIlroy, a 4-time major winner, Victor Hovland, as I said, the hottest golfer on the planet. Scottie Scheffler didn't make the mistakes they made on Sunday.
Okay, so also as far as some contenders, and these are some of the guys that'll be in my my picks, and that includes Hideki at 28-1, because if anybody can say that they actually have a pretty good resume at this golf course, it's Hideki. He's got 5 top 25s and 7 appearances. That includes a couple of top 10s. He's solid tee to green. Matter of fact, his career under par number at TPC Sawgrass is 27 under par. That's very impressive. And he's coming off a 20th.
I was going to ask, does that count as opening round in 2020?
I believe so. Yeah, I went through them all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Why
2020 was the
year
the
opening round of 2020 when that does not include that, no, because that's not a completed. Why was he like 10 over par or something?
No, he tied the course record with a 63.
Wow, I would have been even better.
That's why I wanted to bring it up.
Wow. Okay, even more impressive. So
Absolutely.
there you go. I think Hideki's got a couple of wins, over his last 7 events. Is somebody that we've seen win big events before, including, of course, the Masters last year. And another player in my list is going to be Matthew Fitzpatrick. I had him last week, and he got off to such a slow start that really doomed him. But he came through and once again had a top 10 finish last week. He's now got 5 straight top 15s, dating back to a runner-up at Dubai that ended the European Tour season last year. Very good tee to green, and a 9th place finish here last year, which was his best finish. That's a player that is close to finally breaking through and not just winning his first PGA Tour event, but maybe winning an event like this.
Yeah, possibly so. I mean, we know that he's had a number of wins on the DP World Tour, which is the former European Tour, for those that weren't up to speed on sponsors and those type of relationships. But it's just really been a matter of time. And he plays well in Florida for whatever reason. He's had 4 consecutive top 10s at Bay Hill. Had, as you mentioned, got off to a slow start, but was one of those players that held steady. It doesn't sound like much, but at Bay Hill on the weekend, you hold steady and you just try to let everybody else fall at your feet. And he's definitely playing well. And now that Scheffler is off that list, maybe Fitzpatrick is the next guy at the top of the list where we say, when is it going to happen to get him in the winner's circle?
Yeah, because we've been talking about him for several years now, because when he first broke into like the tour, it was, well, here's the next Rory McIlroy and all the pressure that he had. Oh, yeah. And it's obviously taking as long as it should, because it's not going to happen overnight. But now, he had the big win a couple of years ago over in Europe, and you just get the feeling that it's close again for him. Also in my list is, as I mentioned, is Shane Lowry. He had that runner-up finish at the Honda that you mentioned not too long ago. He's also a solid tee to green player and comes in with 5 straight top 25s. And his best finish at Sawgrass was 8th last year, and he will be making his 7th appearance there.
And if I'm not mistaken, he did not play Bay Hill. At least I don't recall seeing him. Right, no. Yeah, at Bay Hill. So he's had that week to kind of absorb the runner-up finish at Honda, which it really looked like he was going to win until the clouds opened up. And so especially if that wind gets blowing on the weekend, obviously Florida weather can change hour to hour, but right now it looks like Saturday is wind and rain, and then no rain on Sunday, but stronger winds. That would seem to be right up Shane Lowry's wheelhouse right there.
Also, my picks. Look, he was one of my picks last week, and even though you could say he blew it on Sunday, that's a tough golf course. And Billy Horschel will be one of my picks again. There's no reason for me to jump off of him when he was one of my picks last week.
Absolutely not. And this is Billy Horschel's home course, so to speak. He lives in Ponte Vedra. He moved there shortly after earning his PGA Tour card. He's a Florida native. So he sees that course. Obviously, he doesn't see it under these conditions, and sometimes that is a problem. But one of the things that I've been most impressed with for Horschel through the early part of the season is that he does keep popping up. We do see him on the weekends. I really thought he was going to wind up sending that thing to a playoff on Sunday. He had such a struggle at the start of the round.
Yep.
And he fell 5 shots back, whatever it was.
Oh, I thought he was done.
I think everybody did. And then he comes back. There are only 2 guys who went bogey-free on the back 9 on Bay Hill on Sunday. We talked about Scheffler, but the other one was Billy Horschel with a couple of birdies to percolate back up the ladder. And at 18, even though he drove it in the rough, his approach shot was in what we at Bay Hill call the Tiger Zone. How many times have we seen that putt go in? Yep. Billy Horschel acknowledged the thought crossed his mind too, and he had talked to Tiger about how that putt plays and that you have to plan for a little bit more break than it reads, and he did, but still came up 3 inches wide. But I like his attitude. I like his approach to tough courses where he thinks those are the most fun things to play as opposed to a birdie fest. And so with all of those factors put together, I think Billy Horschel should be a factor on Sunday.
Yeah, he is playing as good as and maybe consistently better than he's ever played. Because even though ranking-wise he had that great year, that's because he won those 2 FedEx Cup events back-to-back. But he has just, if you look at it, he has, over his last 11 events, he has 9 top 35s, 4 top 10s, and the runner-up at Bay Hill. He also has a win. And he's made 16 straight cuts since the miscut at the U.S. Open last June.
Yeah, and he's one of those guys that really does scrap, as we saw on Sunday. Another great quote from him on Sunday about that comeback was, I'm never going to give up. I'm going to go down in flames before I tap out.
Okay, that's the kind of guy that you want on your picks, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Next up is one of my alternates, but still is a pick nonetheless, and that's Chris Kirk at 80 to 1. I think that out of all like the nondescript long shots, I think he's definitely up there, which is why I have him. And that's because if you take a look at it, he has 3 top 15s in 10 appearances. Never had a top 10, but that's okay. He's made 8 of 10 cuts at TPC Sawgrass, which is nice. Very good tee to green, and he is red hot in his last 3 events: 14th, 7th, 5th,
and has really put his game back together. To maybe without the wins, although he did win in Bermuda, but to where it was when he was contending on a regular basis. For those that may have forgotten, he checked himself into rehab a couple of years ago to clear up an alcohol issue that obviously had started to affect his game, and he was very close to losing his tour card. But now, and it takes time in any of these situations, it looks like he is now putting together that form that gets him back into that first page of the leaderboard. He played very well at Honda. Wasn't there on Sunday all that long necessarily, but and played very solidly at Bay Hill, and was one of those guys that just kind of bubbled up to the top while everybody else was imploding.
Okay, so I'm also now just going to rip off some names of players that just missed my list. Guys that I was really on the border. And again, these are just more of the contender long shot types. I was thinking about Daniel Berger, but I just wonder whether or not, after the way that things didn't work out for him a couple of weeks ago, how he's going to get over that. And now even more so with the conditions coming up this weekend, I don't know if that's going to go well for him. But Berger still is somebody that is playing well. He's got 2 top 10s at this golf course, and he's really good tee to green.
He really is. And PGA National is practically in his backyard, so there was a comfort zone there. But again, when we talk about recovery time from bad Sundays or bad conditions or bad breaks, Daniel did have that week off.
Sure.
And was able to probably put it in his rearview mirror a little bit better. Berger is one of those guys that's starting to come back up, and we're seeing him on a more regular basis. He can play Sawgrass well. I think he's got enough moxie to put himself into that mix there.
Yeah, he's made 5 out of 6 cuts there as well. Cameron Smith is coming off his best finish last year, 17th, solid tee to green, and right now playing the best golf he's ever played over the past year or so.
Yeah, but he's also been very sparse in his starts. After winning at Kapalua, we've only seen him 3 times on U.S. soil. Now, he did play the Saudi Invitational, or Saudi International, and was 4th there. So he is definitely playing the type of consistent golf that we had kind of talked about when he first came out on tour. He was a very solid player, but then took a while to win. Now he's got some wins. Now let's see if he can put together something even bigger.
Yeah, matter of fact, this is only going to be his 5th event of the year.
Yeah.
And he's only played twice since Sony Open, and he missed a cut there. So, okay, how about past champions? Adam Scott at 50-1, Jason Day at 80-1, and Sergio at 100-1. Because Adam's been playing some pretty good golf.
He has.
He's in a nice frame of mind, and he's got 4 top 15s over his last 5 at TPC Sawgrass. Actually, excuse me, over at actually I think that 4 top 15s over the last 5 at TPC Sawgrass, correct. So his game kind of went away for a little bit, as it does to anybody that goes here, but he's kind of recaptured it again, even though he's getting a little bit older. Meanwhile, Jason Day, the 2016 champ, he hasn't played much, but the last 2 events were solid. 3rd at Riviera, 24th at Pebble. Good to see him back. The only problem I'm having with Jason Day this week, and maybe even Adam Scott, but definitely Day's tee to green game is just not good right now. And yet he's solid on both of those players are very good at this golf course, as is Sergio Garcia. Sergio has made 19 of 21 cuts at TPC Sawgrass. He has a win. He has 2 runner-ups. He lost the playoff to Ricky Fowler. So this is another player to watch. These are 3 former champs that like to play and have had a pretty decent, consistent run over the years at this location. But all 3 of them just not on top of their games of how you need to win here as far as tee to green is concerned.
Right. And Sergio he's coming back. He went through some just bad stretches of golf after the COVID break. I'm a little concerned about Jason Day because for all of his good play, we talk about how things affect you mentally, and this isn't something that happened on the course, but he was a Tuesday withdrawal from Bay Hill when he lost his mom. And he withdrew on Tuesday, got home Tuesday night, and late that night is when his mom took her final breath. So he is, 8 days removed from that. And he was very, very, very close to his mom. After his dad died, Jason Day was 12 when that happened. Jason went through kind of that rebellious stage. And if it wasn't for golf, he admits, who knows where he would be. But his mom made those sacrifices. And I don't know if you recall a few years ago when his mom was going through some tough cancer treatments, and he withdrew from the match play, I think it was. Yep. He was in tears, absolutely in tears, just withdrawing because he couldn't get his mind around the game of golf. And so as much as you love to have a son like that, for him to tee it up at Sawgrass could be pretty tough this week. That would be a really iffy call. I like what Adam Scott has done. He's been putting himself a little higher on the leaderboards. He hasn't really put himself into that really strong Sunday contention, but we know what he has done at Sawgrass. He has not missed a cut since 2012 at Sawgrass, 6 top 20s since then. Of that trio, I would think that Adam is probably the better of the three.
And then 2 other long shots I want to throw out there, and that's Gary Woodland at 80 to 1 and Tom Hoge at 125 to 1. Woodland, because of his recent play, even though you could say, well, he's not going to have any gas left in the tank, playing both Honda and Bay Hill, but he was coming off just some bad golf before these last 2 events.
And he said he needed the reps.
So I just got to think that this is one of those, maybe one of the rare players that could actually come from those 2 events and play well this week, because he had been so bad and now his game is where it needs to be again. That I just think that's what you need. So I think at 80 to 1, he's worth a look. And Hoge I put in there because I just think that it's the only reason that he was 200 to 1 when the odds came out. It's now 125. It's just name recognition. His game has been so solid, and he's gotten better each time he's been at Sawgrass. He's made all 3 cuts. He was 22nd last year, 11 under par the last 2 years combined. He's got a good tee to green game, and he shot a 78 in the first round last week and a 77 in the 4th round and still finished 32nd.
Yeah. Well, and you can do that at Sawgrass.
At Sawgrass, yeah.
That was not at Sawgrass, at Bay Hill, yeah.
Bay Hill, yeah.
In fact, this has nothing to do with Tom Hoge, but Tyrrell Hatton was in the mix late in the game on Sunday. We thought he was going to be the guy in the playoff with
going in early with that 4 under par.
Yeah, but the day before, Tyrrell Hatton had a 78 on his scorecard, and I was flipping through the book late on Sunday saying, when was the last time we had a Bay Hill winner? I wasn't even going to try the PGA Tour, but when was the last time we had a Bay Hill winner that had a 78 as part of his winning score? That would have been a record, but so you can say, hey, he shot 78, 77 at Bay Hill, Hoge did, but especially that 77 on Sunday, that was only a couple shots above the course average, and he is playing better, but all of his good play really took place on the West Coast, and his chart is kind of on and off. He was miscut in Hawaii, runner-up at Palm Springs, missed cut at Torrey, won Pebble Beach, 14th in Phoenix, miscut at Genesis. So I don't. He's kind of at both ends of the spectrum right now. I guess this means that he would be due to have a good one, but
well, this is all about the odds.
Yeah,
this is about a player that's playing better than the odds. That's what it is. It has nothing to do with he's good at the golf course or he's on fire with his game. It's just that if his name was, I don't know, I'll even Paul Casey. If his name was just a name, he'd be 50 to 1.
Well, and that's fair. And what we've also seen a number of times at Sawgrass is we get these guys that come from out of nowhere. Maybe they don't win, but they're the guys that are the last one standing except for the winner.
Yes.
Len Matisse back in the early 2000s. Paul Goydos.
Oh, yeah.
I could see Tom Hoge maybe being that guy this week.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, so let me get your thoughts on some other golfers. Tommy Fleetwood, Tyrrell Hatton. Their games have, even though they're especially Hatton's playing better than Fleetwood, but they're just not where they were about a year and a half ago, especially Fleetwood. Fleetwood is just, there's something missing there with Tommy. But even Tyrrell, like I said, he's more consistent than Tommy right now. But there's just something, I mean, when I watch him play, there's just something missing from where he had been about a year ago. And the two opposites. Fleetwood has a good resume here, but again, he's not playing as good as Hatton. Hatton is playing better than Fleetwood, but he's terrible here. He has 3 missed cuts and a 41st.
I tend to go with recent form above historical form. And Fleetwood really has
Especially
struggled.
here.
Yes. But Hatton, like I say, almost put himself in a playoff with the 68 on Sunday, 69
Yeah.
on Sunday, I should say. But what he's not finding right now is a comfort zone. He freely admitted on Sunday that something is just a little bit off in his swing, and he's been trying to find it to get back into that comfort zone. He actually admitted, I don't know how many PGA Tour players would admit this, but he admitted that on the practice tee on Sunday, his second driver, he hooked it left of left. He was on the left side of the practice range. It went far left and missed the ninth fairway. It landed on the left side of the ninth fairway, and he said, "I was too embarrassed to yell 4 because a PGA Tour player doesn't do that." He found something, obviously, as he played, but he has been putting really well. That's been the strength of his game in recent weeks. And so we know that, well, Sawgrass tests every part of your game, but he might be able to sneak a couple of shots, lower that score a couple of shots, just the way he's been putting of late.
Okay, so I'm going to throw some names at you, and you tell me who you would go with based on players that do not have a lot of experience. And again, we talk about how it's important, the trends to play here. Once again, the average is 6.8 appearances for the last 15 first-time winners, and 9 of the last 10 winners have made at least 6 appearances before winning. And I'm not going to go with the top guys; those are too easy. So, Sam Burns is 40, 50 to 1 range, and Sung J Im has played the golf course twice. Burns missed the cut last year. Im was 17th last year after missing the cut the first time out. We'll start with those two. Who would you go with?
I would go with Im. I
So
think
would I.
Im over his learning curve. And remember that this is the current Ironman of the PGA Tour who plays 36 events out of 47 weeks or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And he's gotten very adjusted to PGA Tour conditions. We saw him on the leaderboard for a while at Honda. We saw him on the leaderboard for a little while at Bay Hill. So he's playing well. The fact that he went from miscut to 17th, I think, falls right into that storyline.
Neiman at 50 to 1, Answer at 66 to 1. Answer has got a couple of good showings here, both top 25s. Neiman was 29th last year.
Right now, Neiman has the win, has the confidence. I do like Abraham Answer's game. I think he's one of those guys that maybe not in this type of tournament, but as we get to the Travelers or the John Deere, we're going to see Abraham Answer get a PGA Tour win before too long. But Neiman has accomplished it this year, and he accomplished it once before that. I think he's got the better overall game.
Okay. Homa missed the cut last year, but his game has been solid. And Taylor Gooch, 5th last year after missing the cut his first time out, 7th last week, as his game did not hold on the way Billy Horschel did after Gooch was right there with Horschel to start the day pretty much in first place.
Yeah, they were tied for the lead,
first,
and then
yeah.
at the turn they were a combined 10 over par.
Yeah.
Horschel recovered.
And Gooch
Gooch
did not.
actually did recover a little bit as well, but not as well as Horschel.
So who would you go with those two?
Actually, I think I would still go with Gooch. He's been playing pretty good of late. And he won at the RSM Classic, which is not all that far from Sawgrass back in the fall. His game, sometimes you get into the West Coast, East Coast thing. His game right now seems to work a little bit better on the East Coast. Max Homa is a West Coast guy.
Yep.
Even though he played all right at Bay Hill, he was still middle of the pack.
Okay, and then some long shots. Bo Hostler, 100 to 1. His game has picked it up a little bit.
Yeah, it really has.
And let's see, who am I going to mix up with Bo Hostler? Let's throw in Let's throw in. I'll tell you what, Alex Noren. He hasn't made he's made 4 starts. He's got 2 top 20s, but he's missed the cut the last couple of times. And he's also 100 to 1. So Noren and Hostler, which way would you go?
I like Bo Hostler. I watched him for a little bit at Bay Hill, and again, tough conditions. Everybody was struggling a little bit, but I liked his approach. He was on the Saturday leaderboard for a little while. He's one of those guys that, if you recall, you go all the way back to the 2012 U.S. Open. So this is 10 years ago now. And he was a teenager. He made the cut. Had a lot of moxie in his game. California kid, went to the University of Texas, and now finally is out on tour. I've liked his game for a number of years, and I think that we're starting to see him come along a little bit more often. Noren, veteran player, good solid player, but other than one really strong year, he has not been the kind of guy to just be on leaderboard after leaderboard.
Yeah, he used that prime of his career over in Europe to become a regular PGA Tour guy.
Yes.
But he just hasn't translated that over here to wins. But he does have 2 top 10s in his last 3, including a 5th at Honda. Hostler has just been, he was so bad that it's such a big difference of where he was and where he is now. And Hostler's one of those guys that you get the feeling that, you know, he might be 100 to 1 winner on tour this year. He might be one of those guys that just comes out of nowhere to win an event this year.
Well, and again, he is a younger guy. He's just 2-3 years out of the University of Texas, and learning the ropes and how to get his game to the level of all of these guys that he's teeing up against. And he's had the talent. It's now just kind of getting those intangibles. How do you get a little bit extra out of your drive? How do you be a little bit stronger in terms of tee to green? How do you scramble better? Maybe that's where Hostler kind of struggled at Bay Hill with that rough there. But yes, I could see him winning, say, the 3M Open, the Rocket Mortgage Classic, one of those where maybe he doesn't have to go up against the guy, guys like Rahm and Hovland and McIlroy, and he can bubble up to the top of a field that doesn't have quite that top level.
All right, now before I ask you for your picks, I'm just going to show everybody. Now, this is going to be important for anybody who likes to wager after the tournament begins, round by round trends. And the ones to keep an eye on, 3 first-round leaders in the last 7 years went on to win at TPC Sawgrass. Now, compare that to Bay Hill. 1 first-round leader winning in the last 18 years. So, so if you lead here at TPC, you might be able to hold on. And anyway, so keep that in mind, which is not good for anybody who likes to live bet. But meanwhile, 9 of the last 22 winners started the second round outside the top 10. So that's not bad, including 26th, 27th, 37th, 41st, and 44th. So even if you don't lead after the first round, you can have a Scheffler type of first round at Sawgrass and still win. So
yeah.
Okay, now give me your picks, Jeff. Give me your top pick.
I'm going to go with Colin Morikawa. Here's a guy that learns quickly. He's got 2 majors in events in which he played. One was his debut and one was the second time. So he comes in rested. He comes in off the runner-up finish at Riviera. And like I say, he is such a fast learner. I always admired Jon Rahm being able to be a fast learner. He's learning faster than Jon Rahm. And again, comes in without some of the fatigue that you would have had at Honda, and particularly at Bay Hill. I like what he just how all of that seems to come together compared to some of these other guys at the top of the board.
All right, and then give me your long shot. Somebody that's got to be about 50 to 1 or higher.
Yeah, and I'm gonna kind of scroll through. We talked about him, and he has had a good stretch here in Florida. He's a Georgia guy, South Georgia guy. But this might be one of those where Chris Kirk um, has the calmness. Certainly has had the game to put himself on the leaderboard. And sometimes in a familiar territory. Again, he is based at Sea Island, which is an hour and a half tops from Jacksonville. He's going to have a lot of friends and fans there. It's very similar type conditions. And being that we brought him up earlier and I kind of took a liking to him, I'll go with him.
All right, sounds good. What's you're heading to now? You're not there yet, but you will be at Players for what? Are you going to be there for all 4 rounds?
Yeah, I'll get there late morning tomorrow after driving up, and we'll be there all 4 rounds. Hopefully, it will be 4 rounds in 4 days, because if we have to have a Monday finish, I don't know what's going to happen with my editors.
Yeah.
But I will be up there, and then the last time I was at the Players was, I didn't go last year because of COVID restrictions and things like that, but I was there for the day they shut down after the first round. That was a huge scramble, because I'm driving back from Sawgrass and I get a call like 9 o'clock at night, and my editor says they just canceled the rest of the Players. You have to change both of your stories, and you have about an hour to do it.
So what did you have to pull off of the side of the road?
McDonald's was a very helpful place until closing time, and then they were trying to get rid of me.
Oh, you can, those are stories that
Wi-Fi.
Those are the ones that while it's going on, it's a pain, but you remember those. You stash those in the memory bank. Remember when. Those don't go away. All right, Jeff. So hopefully you'll get a chance to see Jan while you're there. And we look forward to
hopefully.
Yeah,
we'll be able to run across at some point, and I know she's got her schedule and I've got mine, but we're right in the same vicinity. I did see her a few months ago when she came to the Villages, and we had a nice conversation there.
Very nice. Well, let's hope that we'll get you on with her as well one of these times, because are you going to be on location for the rest of the Florida Swing?
No, actually, this is going to be my last event of the Florida Swing. I was at Honda for a couple days working on this project that I told you about. Obviously, Bay Hill is the closest thing that we have to a home game. I'm going to do a full week of the Players, but then when I come back from the Players, it is my week to kind of bunker in and write story after story. So I will not go to Valspar this year.
That's the last one, by the way, right? There's only one more. Valspar?
Right. Okay. Yeah, Valspar, and then it goes to Texas for the World or the WGC match play.
I want them to change venues. I think I even mentioned that to you 3 years ago. I've had enough of match play at that location. It's just move it to somewhere else. It's just, I don't like the look of it. It's just, I haven't seen anything dramatic happen there in match play that's been like, oh, this is so great. Just go somewhere else. I don't know why they got to continuously stay at one place when, I mean, I get it. It's Texas. You want to kind of give them like maybe their home kind of big event, but come on, go somewhere else.
Remember who the sponsor is, though.
Now, who's that?
Dell Technologies, based in Austin.
It's always
Texas.
about money. Yeah, I know. It is.
And if they're going to put up that kind of scratch, they want to have it in their hometown. Yeah, and it's a great course, but it has not set up for drama.
No.
Like we did see, back at Carlsbad. That was probably the heyday of the match play. But
and I hate that. What is it? That 16th or 17th hole, the one that's a par 3. That it's like the visual. It's like you see it, and it's like this marsh or grass over on that side, and it's just a very ugly, important last par 3 that's just so bothersome. It's just, yeah, they have to do.
You're gonna have all those viewers from Austin writing into you now.
They have to find a way to build another. There's got to be another golf course in Austin, Texas. You don't have to leave there. Just find another golf course in Austin, Texas.
Yeah, it's interesting. You want them to change venues. I want them to change dates.
Why is that?
Because it's 2 weeks before the Masters. Okay. If you go to especially if you go to Sunday, but even if you go to the weekend, uh, you've put a lot of golf in. If you go to Sunday, you will have played just shy of 5 rounds of golf. And then if you play on Sunday, you will have logged about 7 rounds of golf, about 110 holes, and you have 1 week to recover from that before going to Augusta National. It's almost like you don't want to win the match play if you want to have a chance at the green jacket. And so what I would prefer to see is a switch with, say, New Orleans, the 2-man team event where you don't have to hit so many shots. And put New Orleans in that slot where people are trying to get ready for the Masters.
I agree.
And
put it in the slot where nobody cares. Yes.
Right. And then that would put the match play 2 weeks after the Masters, and it's a perfect spot for people to really chase a match play title.
Quickly, why did they have Puerto Rico last week?
Because even though they have condensed the schedule a little bit, there's only 2 World Golf Championships left. The Memphis event has now become a FedEx Cup playoff event, and the Mexico event is now just a regular PGA Tour event that's going to be played in late April, early May. I don't have the schedule in front of me.
Oh, it's not a WGC any longer.
It's not a WGC anymore. It's just going to be the Mexico Championship. So they're down to 2 WGCs.
Why? What does that mean? What's that about?
It's sponsorship, basically. Okay. Grupo Salinas, the Mexican group, they wanted to sponsor, but not at the price tag
for a WGC event.
Of a WGC event. So they kept the event, but it got demoted, so to speak. Okay. But they have these opposite field events: Puerto Rico, Punta Cana in the Dominican Republic, Tahoe, and what's the 4th one? The one in Kentucky. And so they want to put them up against events where the field is limited, and others, and those that don't get in are going to be looking for a place to play. Because the Arnold Palmer Invitational is an invitational, it's a limited field. It's 120 players instead of 144.
Okay.
It was a place where they could put Puerto Rico and make that work. And I think Punta Cana is going to go opposite the match play. And then Tahoe, I think now, is going to go up against the Scottish Open. And then the one in Kentucky goes up against the British Open. So okay. It makes the least sense in terms of going up against the Arnold Palmer Invitational, because you still get 120 in the Arnold Palmer Invitational. But that had a great storyline last week, too, because Ryan Brehm was playing on the last start of a medical extension. If he doesn't play well, he's back to the Korn Ferry Tour. He's done for the PGA Tour for a year. And you can let that build up a lot of pressure. Sure. Oh, I've got to do a lot. And he had to finish at least second to keep his card. He went in with a great attitude. He said, I'm just going to swing for the fences. It's either going to happen or it isn't going to happen. The guy wins by 6.
That's great. Good for him. Okay, maybe we'll get an opportunity the next time to talk to you Masters Week, because that's such a big week. I'm sure you're going to have so many things going on that week as well, but we'll try to see if we can fit you in at least, obviously, a few more times this season. Masters is a big week. But anyway, great job, as always, Jeff. Good to have you on again. Great talking golf. It's too bad we can't do this every week, but you've got a great new job. So
thank you.
Best of luck at the Villages, and hopefully it's going to continue to be a long relationship for you guys for many years.
Well, I appreciate that. It's always fun talking golf. I do miss this sometimes, but honestly, the way they've been using me, I don't have a lot of time to think about what might be or could have been. They've been they've had a lot of confidence in trying to build upon what was before. Now that we are the largest daily newspaper in the state of Florida, we're trying to act like it. And so that's the genesis behind this project. We've done other great projects on the news side that have won a lot of awards. And it's kind of ironic. I trudged for a long time with Miami and Orlando and even Hilton Head, and I may win an award here, an award there. I don't know what it is, except maybe I'm just throwing caution to the wind and swinging to the
There you
fences.
go.
But I have won more awards at the Village's Daily Sun than I have at the other places.
That's awesome. Well, you deserve it, Jeff.
Thank you.
We know how hard you work. And again, best of luck between now and the time we talk to you again. And enjoy the golf this weekend.
Yeah, you as well. And at least you'll be able to stay dry.
Yeah, that's true. And when there's delays, I'll be able to, sit in the comfort of my home and change the channel.
There you go.
All right, Jeff. We'll talk to you again sometime soon. Best of luck.
Thanks. Take care.